Welcome back, Zelenite, Kefan, and traces of Lucanol. The high percentage of impurity in this valuable ore must therefore be episode 41 of the Dudley Simpson Is Doctor Who project. Purists may insist that we refer to this as Season 2, Episode 1, and you are not at all wrong. No doubt someone will make available an alternate Blu-ray cover to accommodate you. We begin this series of the season, yep, I've covered all my bases now, with a slight throwback for me personally. You, of course, remember, as if it was yesterday, the production of my episode 33 transcription from season 14's The Robots of Death, entitled The Sand Miner. It came complete with innovative behind-the-scenes videos. Unusually, there were 2 segments I transcribed that were ultimately excised from the finished suite. One of them, by the way, ended up as an Easter egg of sorts in one of the Sand Miner videos. Go and hunt that down. Both got as far as being notated in the suite, but when they got cut, I threw them into a separate finale notation file because, well, you never know. When I committed to continuing the project, and believe me, negotiations between me and me were tense at times, there was every reason to bring this piece out of security storage. So, here it is. The Doctor, wandering around the mine, comes upon an area where hoppers collect unrefined ore. Entering an empty hopper, he comes across a dead body, a second murder aboard the mine. As he stands over the body, the door seals shut and ore begins filling the tank, slowly burying him. In this fine cliffhanger to part 1 of the story, Simpson's music adds to the horror. Will the Doctor lose his life in the hopper of death? The reason why the Hopper of Death was transcribed at all was that at first I associated the Sand Miner theme with the Waltz Macabre from the opening moments of the story. You can certainly hear how the Hopper of Death fits into the Waltz Macabre style. When organizing the suite, however, it became clear not only that the Sand Miner theme wasn't always in Walt's time, but that the Hopper music connected to the suite tenuously at best. Nevertheless, I'm very glad it found a place somewhere in the project. To me, it is a sinister yet grandiose piano miniature and a fine example of Simpson cliffhanger music. When the outer door to the hopper slams shut and an inner door seals the compartment, the music begins with clustered chords. Possibly synth, possibly organ, maybe both, you know me. These are accompanied by a crescendoing cymbal roll, which made some of these sounds quite hard to discern. The upper notes are mostly major seconds. The first sound adds up to D-sharp dominant 7th and concludes with E dominant 7th. The clusters above add to finish a tritone above the root, giving its chord a colorful, tense character. As that chord rings, the timpani adds E flat or D sharp, beats underneath, adding to the tension. Just at the end of this introductory phrase, the timpani is joined by the sinister honking of the contrabass clarinet. From here, the organ synth duo takes over, bringing this music into full cliffhanger mode. The melody in Waltz Macabre style is a series of falling 2-measure phrases, each of which repeats. After the initial statement, the following phrase is transposed down a third. The next phrase further descends a tritone. The initial higher phrase seems to restart, but quickly jumps down an octave for a repeat of that melody. Each melody note is harmonized by the interval of a third below. This entire segment can be boiled down to a single octatonic scale, which, as we know, is a Simpson favorite, and mine. The scale is used here on A natural to support diminished seventh harmony that the supporting orchestra of timpani, contrabass, clarinet, and horn ensemble repeatedly grinds out. The diminished seventh chord, a symmetry of stacked minor thirds, is filled with tension. It can almost literally resolve anywhere, and is in many ways the stereotypical silent movie cliffhanger chord. An alert listener will recognize the tiniest difference in my accompaniment rhythm from the program's track. I had to adapt the actual rhythm purely for playability. When my left hand leaps up from the bass to this chord, and then must rapidly repeat it machine gun-like, it came out very inconsistently. I found that if I simply played the first chord and held it as the melody continued, the effect was basically the same and didn't hold up the tempo. Quieter now, building towards the climax, the music shifts to a new octatonic scale based on G natural, but here the harmony alternates, diminished with a very colorful dominant seventh type. As the timpani stays firmly rooted on G, the organ synth melody rises through the entirety of this 8-note scale as the horn ensemble rocks between adjacent tritones. This shift in harmony is emphasized by a metric modulation. We have been hearing triple meter since the beginning, where 3 beats, or 1 measure, was 1 second long. This music shifts to duple meter, where 1 measure of 4 beats is 2 seconds long. A simpler way to say this is as follows. 3 beats of the old rhythm is now the same length of time as 2 beats of the new rhythm, both equaling 1 second's time. As we see the Doctor finally, and perhaps fatally, buried in the ore, the music makes one final crescendo, the melody rising more rapidly into the final climax. Beginning with 2 iterations of F diminished 7th harmony, the next measure sees 2 chords on E natural, half diminished, then a bright major chord reinforced by timpani. The final harmony is another major chord, up a half step to F, although I hear the bass note as the major third A natural. This chord is another great example of how Simpson's cliffhangers sometimes attempt to lead musically into the E minor harmony of the theme song. The F major harmony is a half step above and resolves smoothly. And the melody C natural is the same peak note that commences the tune. It's worth noting that Simpson also composed the cliffhanger of parts 2 and 3, and each has its own musical solution to this challenge. Thank you so much for watching episode 41 and returning with me to the Dudley Simpson is Doctor Who project. Thanks most of all to my precious Patreons who saw this video first. You too can get in on the fun. Patreon.com/Jess Jurkovic. You can also tip me if you like. Ko-Fi, I'm going to say Ko-Fi.com/Jess Jurkovic. There'll be more videos to come. Subscribe, like, share, comment. See you soon.